Holocaust was a genocide in Germany that started on January 30th, 1933. Adolf Hitler was the man who started it all. He was appointed Chancellor of Germany, and soon after he started the Dachau concentration camp, a place where he could send people to die. Hitler's main goal was to eliminate Jews and other people who were not like him. He killed over 6 million Jews from the time it started to the time it ended on May 8, 1945. Many people had to hide if they were going to survive. Take Anne Frank as an example. She had to hide in an attic so she could survive as long as she did. It was a miracle if you were a Jew who was still alive when this ended, and many Holocaust survivors moved to Skokie after the Holocaust ended, which made it a great target for Frank Collin and his group of neo-Nazis. The suburb of Skokie has a very rich and unique history. Skokie has a large population, including many Jews. Real estate was a large business in the early 1900s. This had a large decline in the 1930s when the Great Depression happened. After World War II, many Jews fled Germany seeking a safe place to live. They chose Skokie. Because many Jews came to Skokie, real estate became large again and Skokie came to flourish. Many Jews were quite happy in Skokie until Frank Collin made it his target. After World War II, neo-Nazi bands started populating cities around the U.S. One went to Skokie because of its large Holocaust survivor community. Frank Collin was the leader of the group in Skokie. His dad was a Jew, Matt Simon Cohen. His father was imprisoned in the concentration camp Dachau. Because Collin had Nazi beliefs, his family was ashamed of him. People called him the dippy Nazi and a warped twerp, but he still stood by his beliefs. He was part of the NSPA, National Socialist Party of America, which was an organization throughout the U.S. There were only 20 to 30 Nazis in the group, but they made a big impact on the city. The neo-Nazis wanted to march in Skokie for a number of reasons. They mainly wanted to march for attention. Many people had mixed feelings because of the First Amendment. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. This contributed to the event because people had the right of free speech, but they did not know if the Nazi views were constitutionally protected. Victor Rosenblum, professor of law at Northwestern and past chairman of the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, said the Nazis' march and paraphernalia is a reminder of the most destructive movement in history. They stand for the destruction and wiping out of human beings. This is not constitutionally protected. But Joseph Burton, a Jewish lawyer of the ACLU, was defending the Nazis' right to march. He thought it was constitutionally protected. Frank Collin took the problem to court. The initial ruling said the neo-Nazis could march in uniform but not display the swastika symbol. The NSPA challenged the ruling with the Supreme Court, who refused to overturn the original court ruling. But in January 1978, the Supreme Court decided that the NSPA march was constitutionally protected, and they could display the swastika symbol. Even though it was very offensive, it was a way to communicate their message to the public. The village of Skokie had made 3 ordinances to stop the march, and on February 1st, the federal court went even further, ruling the ordinances unconstitutional too. Howard Reach is the son of a Holocaust survivor. He did not come to terms with what the Holocaust meant for Jews until Frank Collin took his first steps into his world. He would see Jews walking around, going in and out of their temple, and to him, Skokie was just a normal suburb. Reach did not realize that it was home to many Holocaust survivors, even though he knew that his parents were survivors themselves. It made life hard for them, living with the memories. A quote from the article says, "In our house, my father never made it through a night's sleep without waking up several times, in his dreams killing Nazis." He said, "My mother rarely slept in bed, instead sitting in the dark on our living room floor, peering out the window as if to keep a vigil for dangers ahead. My sisters and I were not allowed to take showers, only baths, and it took me years to understand my parents' fear for them." This shows just how hard it was. Reach believes that Collin changed the little suburb so much. His parents said to smash the Nazis, and that's exactly what he did. Holocaust survivors tried hard to fit in and assimilate, but it came to their attention more than that was needed. So the Holocaust Museum was opened, and Illinois became the first state to require Holocaust education. The neo-Nazis coming to Skokie had a big impact on the small suburb of Skokie. It's shocking how 20 to 30 people made a huge mess. Because of the Holocaust, groups of people referred to as neo-Nazis started populating places around the globe. This influenced many people's lives, not just Jews, but other races and religions that did not share the neo-Nazis' point of view. Frank Holland and his group resided in Skokie, a place that has a very large Holocaust survivor population. The main reason he chose to march was because he wanted lots of attention. Frank Holland and his band had the right to march and the freedom of speech, and many people, including large Jewish organizations, backed him up. They thought it was constitutionally protected, and it was okay to march, according to the First Amendment. There were multiple court cases in which people seemed confused on whether or not it was okay for them to march, and if they should march with or without swastikas. In the end, they were going to let Frank Holland march, but he said he wouldn't march in Skokie if they would let him march in Marquette Park instead. They agreed. This is because people thought there would be more control, and the matter was considered settled. The Illinois Holocaust Museum is in Skokie, and the museum was mainly open because of what happened during the march in Skokie. The neo-Nazi march ended up having a bigger impact on Skokie than anyone could have ever expected.
It certainly had a big effect on the community. That's what motivated people to start the museum and to become very vigilant of Nazism on the rise. And we have some founders who got together at that time, impelled the government to teach the Holocaust in the school, and then a law was passed that Holocaust must be taught in all the public schools.
Do you think it's important that kids know about it?
I wouldn't be here today talking to you if I wouldn't think it was important. I don't only think it's important, I think it's incumbent on survivors to speak up, because every day there are less and less of us, and our stories are all different, even though we went through similar experiences. Our stories are all individual. The common denominator is tragedy. We all, as a result of Hitler, our lives turned into a very tragic mess.